What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're having a great one today. As always, as you could probably tell, we've already cracked into this beautiful lady here, but today we are taking a look at Playtoy's sports version of Battle Angel Alita. Now, the box itself is pretty cool. It's, nothing too fancy. They did a nice job decorating it, and as you can tell, I have already unboxed it, which we'll get to that in just a moment. I did order this from 1/6 Outfitters, which if you haven't ordered from them, they are amazing. They're an American-based store. So it does take them a little bit longer to get stuff than, say, like a Giant Toy or a 1/6 kit. But one thing I really like about them is a lot of people don't go to them right away as their primary source. So oftentimes, if some of the so-so toys are sold out everywhere else, they've still got them on pre-order. With this girl, she was actually better priced there than at other retailers. I think it was about $150. So depending on the figure, you can usually get some good deals there. And like I said, I usually try to order from any of the 6 skill stores that I find and like, and they are definitely in that category. Unfortunately, this figure I am not a huge fan of. So what had happened was I did an unboxing of it. I honestly felt that the figure was really pretty cool. There were some minor issues, small complaints. I wrapped it up and then was like, I'm going to put the armor on this girl. Get some final footage of her and her whole rollerball scheme, and that's where the problems came in. So we'll get to those in just a bit. But the first thing, so the actual figure is pretty decent. The head sculpt is not great. It is not terrible. From far away, it doesn't look too appealing. Closer you get, it is pretty decent. You can move the eyes, which is nice. The headpiece here, the hair actually normally falls off. I'm genuinely surprised it has not done so already. Okay, so that's a shocker. Most of the time that the scalp was falling off of her, which was kind of annoying, but it does seem to actually be holding in place there. So that's a nice little positive, I guess. It is obviously rooted hair, so you've got that difference compared to the Hot Toys version. Which honestly, if you didn't get the Hot Toys version, this figure's not awful in any means as far as a easy to get, much more affordable replacement, but we'll get to why I didn't really like it in a bit. So you do get some pretty good articulation with the body itself. It is very similar to the Hot Toys one in a lot of ways, where you can basically take off all of that and she's got the cool Android body underneath. You do get a ton of articulation with it, which is nice, and really no terrible restrictions from the outfit. Maybe a little bit as far as the leg movement, but really just kind of in the hips and crotch, which is pretty normal. It is like a fake leather, so it might flake depending on the environment you are in over time. And then I just had some kind of concerns with it, where the sharper pieces of the Android body you can sort of already tell are kind of poking through in some areas. So I do worry that it's going to kind of leave some sort of creasing in it over time. Now, the other perk with this figure is you do get basically standard Alita with the armor to just attach to it. So that I thought was pretty dang cool. And that was one thing that I really, really liked about it. The problem is getting the armor on. And we'll take a look at him in just a moment. But the big issue that I've run into, and that I think a lot of other people might, so that's the little hairpiece. I have not been able to get this head off. It has been absolutely atrocious. It almost looks, I don't know if we can get really good angles in there. It almost looks like it kind of bowed out on the bottom. But the short version is, and I'll go ahead and do it just because why not? As I pull, I can feel significant tension in the neck and in the waist. I don't feel any budging in the actual head. And if I really start to wiggle, you can see the little ball joint. It's actually pulling out from the neck rather than the head itself. Now, the reason that's a big bummer, you need to get the head off to put the armor on. So I've kind of found myself in a bit of a predicament with this figure, where I do have the Mr. Z, I think it was Mr. Z that did it, maybe Mr. Toys, don't remember. There's a really good Alita head sculpt that a guy had made, which I do have one of those, so if I were to accidentally destroy this thing, Not particularly the end of the world. You can stay off for now. But I don't really want to destroy the head, and I'm genuinely afraid that's what's going to happen. I have tried using a hairdryer to warm it up a little bit. No luck there. Pretty much tried every basic technique that I know. I don't want to get it wet. I know sometimes hot water can help, but I'm not really interested in going that route. And then I kind of decided, what if I just accept that she's not going to be in the rollerball outfit, use this as like a generic backup Alita figure, which is not the end of the world, and then basically build something with this, which is pretty much what I'm going to do. So the armor itself is awesome. It's really well designed in a lot of ways. Hopefully we can get a little better focus on that, maybe. There we go. And they painted and weathered everything really nicely, so it does have a really good kind of beat up, metallic in-use sports armor look. But even with these, it's such an incredibly snug fit to get them on the actual body that I'm kind of worried it's just going to wear down either the paint on the arms or actually the plastic itself. And that tends to be the case with these guys as well, which are the thigh guards. These are a little bit more concerning to me because as they slide up, you basically get to a point where they're really putting a lot of pressure on that suit. And I'm, again, just kind of terrified it's going to damage that a bit. And then, as much as I love these, this thing is a little flimsy, but it's not really a big deal. This suit is awesome. It's just so well painted and well designed. I really, really like it. But you got to take the head off. So I'm kind of in a predicament there. Now, I have thought about essentially trying to do some weird cuts, put it on the body, and then glue everything back together, but I think that might be a silly choice. So at the end of the day, I think I'm just going to do a separate figure and kit bash something with it, which I think is probably the safer option. You do also get different feet for her, which is amazing. As she is an android, she can change out and get her cool little rollerblade feet, which those are super cool. They did a really, really good job there. And even the actual feet, you get a little bit of articulation there. Honestly, they did a really good job with most of the stuff. It's just the head. And I feel like if you got one where the head wasn't super stuck, the figure would be a lot better. You'd still probably have to fight to get some of these pieces on because they are snug, but they are, relatively pliable. You can warm them up a little bit. They'll be a little easier to move. The shin guards actually have little elastic bands on them, so they're easy to get on. Now, one thing that I do worry about with these, I'm not sure if any of you have the old 12-inch G.I. Joes from like the 90s, but those, like the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, had these type of things on their greaves and gauntlets and such, and after a while they just wear down and fall right off. Now, granted, it's just elastic, so you can pretty easily replace it. Not the end of the world, but it does happen. You do get a whole bunch of different hands, which, again, really did a good job with them. I mean, honestly, the detailing and stuff is pretty fantastic. This particular one has an awkward shape because it is for holding the actual roller ball, which, again, they did a really good job of. So this thing I actually thought was pretty fantastic. I was quite impressed by it. And it's kind of weird, but you basically, if I can, there we go. So it's essentially kind of almost give it like a bowling ball grip. And it just kind of slides right in there. So she can hold on to it pretty well. You can obviously push that down a little bit to get it a little bit more firm. It does tend to stick when you do that, so I kind of have the worry that I'm dumb and clumsy. I might yank it out too hard and break off one of the thumbs. And then you do get the helmet, which does fit really well on the head. Might as well do it real quick. It is a very, very snug fit. So it kind of gets caught on her ears. I don't know if there's an easy way around that. Usually I just kind of force it and hope for the best, which probably not the best way to do it, but sadly there aren't any actual instructions in the book. I don't know if there's a better way of doing it, like maybe put the hair piece back on first. I don't know if that actually matters. Possibly put the hair inside of the ball and then connect it. I don't know. But I was at one point able to just be kind of rough, and there we go. Again, I was kind of rough with it and just popped it on. There is a foam piece in there which you might want to remove to get it a little bit more snug of a fit, but it does actually fit on pretty well. If you were to yank the foam out, it would be down there. Obviously, you would arrange the hair a little bit better so it's not sticking out in such an awkward spot, but I just kind of wanted to plop it on there for quick look-see. Really, that's about it with the figure. You don't get too much else with it, which is kind of unfortunate, but not the end of the world. There is a non-sports version that comes with her sword, so that might actually be a really good option if you don't want to deal with the hassle of kind of putting on all of the extra stuff to this body or a different one. Yeah, good enough. Now, the other thing I am going to mention, just because it is kind of concerning for me in terms of doing the kit bash, and it might be better to look at it this way, but she does have some very unique foot and wrist pegs. They're closer to the 3-0 ones, so that might make it a little tricky for me to find a good body to match up, but something to play around with. That'll do it for this one. I should hopefully be getting Darth Vader today, according to UPS. My fingers are crossed that I'll be opening that later on today. Pretty excited about that one. And I think I got a bunch more stuff down the way as well, and a huge pile of stuff that I haven't gotten to yet. So we'll get back to Kraken shortly. Thank you all so much, as always. Until next time, have a great one.